You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show.
The Chloë we see before us today is very, very different because you're a bloody accountant not that long ago, weren't you? Yeah. What's happened?
I woke up. No, you're right, Ellie. So for full transparency, I'm a chartered certified accountant.
Get out.
I know.
I'm joking.
And it feels like a previous life. I studied as a chartered accountant. My family couldn't afford university. And so I had the option of going straight into work. So I worked at one of the largest accountancy firms and was kind of thrown in with the sharks. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street thing. Like it looked like that. It felt like that. 18 years old. I was chartered by the time I was 21 and a director by the time I was 24. And that all sounds great, sounds fantastic, but there's no smoke without fire. And as I got through that process, I just couldn't handle it. Too much pressure, too much stress, too much dull. It was just not me. I was trying to do what everyone thought I had to do. Be a great girl, prove that I don't need to go to university. I can have it all without, the traditional model. And I got up the ranks. And every time I got this new pay rise, you talked about new level, new devil. I just wasn't happy. I was like, great, an extra 20 grand in my bank account every year. Fantastic. Maybe 5 minutes later, realistically about 30 days after payday, I was like, oh, now what? Mm-hmm. Now what? And I still remember to this day being sat at my desk and the business cards arrived. Chloë Bisson, director. And I remember looking at this going, I cannot wait to give this to my parents. And I looked at it on my desk. And then as soon as it felt like 5 minutes, probably about an hour passed. And I thought, I can't go anywhere further than here. Because in a global organization, to get to director at that age is insane. But what am I going to be owning a bank, when I'm 30? Like, what's next? And at that moment, I just lost all sense of purpose because I'd created my purpose based on my career. To prove everybody wrong. Without going into too much backstory, I actually went to an all-girls school in Jersey, which is where I was born, very finance-based island, so much money. But I was the poorest person in that school. So my parents just about got together to get the money to be able to pay for me to go there. And so when everyone was discussing their universities and their fancy degrees they were going to go for and the pools they had in their houses and the chateaus they had in France, I lived on top of a supermarket. Neither of my parents could afford to send me to university. And I remember being in the careers class where everyone was talking about the universities they were going to apply to, knowing my mum had said, we can't really afford to send you. And I remember telling the teacher, whispering it because I was so embarrassed, didn't want anyone else to know, saying, look, I'm probably just going to get a job. Can you send me some templates or how do I apply for a job? And she said, look, you're better off having a free period now because there's not really much I can help you with. And I remember thinking, I'm so alone. And I didn't want to put the pressure on my parents to think they'd failed by not sending me to university. And so that was when the passion the fire was born for me, going, well, screw you all, basically. It was such a motivator to prove why I needed to have something more. And I needed to show to people that you don't need to go the traditional way. And so that's where that fire had come. So that fire was born there. And then for whatever that 6 years later, it was constantly burning. Nothing else mattered other than my career. I was the first one in the office, last one out. Nothing else mattered until that point where I got those business cards and I was like, now what? And that's where within about a month, I'd had a complete breakdown because I'd had no purpose. I had no life purpose the whole time. I just thought my career was the reason I needed to be driving and striving. And unfortunately, and I don't know if anyone can relate to this or yourself, Eddie, can relate to this, but the more people that praised me for it, the worse it got. Because I was like, oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad I got this promotion. Yeah, director, oh, thanks. My dad's friends down the pub going, oh, Chloë, your dad's told us you're doing so well. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. All the whole time in my head going, I'm not doing well. And I wasn't well. And then it was only when I went to the doctors, and I went to the doctors because I had stomach pains. Completely in denial, had no clue that I was completely clinically depressed. And I went to the doctor, I had stomach pains, and I just said to her, is there any chance you can make these pains go away? Because every morning I felt sick and Mondays were worse. Friday I felt better. So I was like, it must just be a weird bug I've got, or bacteria or something. And she said, you're severe clinically depressed. I'm going to sign you off for 6 months. And like that, I was off. And I was, from someone who had been driven, go, strive, career. Suddenly it was like, now what? And I was actually quite rude, to be honest, because I was like, she's mad. Like, this woman is, in what planet do I need 6 months off? And then she said to me, Chloë, wait 2 days. I'll give you a call in 2 days and then let me know what you think. And in those 2 days, it all unraveled. because it was like this denial, stages of grief. One of the first stages is denial. It just unraveled and it just unpicked. And I just remember sitting at my mum's dining room table and the doctor ringing me and bursting into tears going, "You're so right." And it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life, thinking you were so certain, so stable, so successful, to then suddenly having nothing, and worse, not even knowing what was going on in my own brain. It was one of the most terrifying moments of my life.